entertainment is the green zone, which can be found on the screens in front of you. From the greenery of my home to the vast mysteries of the great outdoors, there's so much in this natural world to explore. And if you have something green to share, let me know in the comments below.
Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to the HeyEunziverse. It's our 2024 episode of Hello Spring, and I'll be walking you through everything that I've planted for this season. As this cute little sign says, we're in the first stage of planting smiles. Side note, this sign once looked something like this, but after years of wear and tear, it's looking rough. Still cute nonetheless. Alright, so first category is herbs. I recently vacated this cute painted pot, so I decided to grow some mint in it. This seed packet and some of the others you'll see were freebie packets given to my grandmother, who passed it on to us, and in my experience they don't germinate that well. But my theme for this year's planting was to use as much of our old seeds as possible. There were many packets that had been on the shelf for years, so I'm not even sure if they'll grow, but it's worth a shot. Next, I started what I'm calling a rabbit feeder tray. Except for the kale, I read that rabbits enjoy eating cilantro, basil, bokchoy, spinach, and lettuce, so I'm growing these for our wild hares to munch on. Although my family and I do enjoy eating these herbs and vegetables ourselves, it's much cheaper and easier to buy large fresh greens from the grocery store whenever we need them. So this is just my way of using the seeds and not letting them go necessarily to waste. It's just not me that will get to enjoy them. But if I'm lucky to catch a rabbit munching on the tray, I'll update you on it. Now moving on to oregano and rosemary. I made one planter box for each so that I could put the plants and the seeds together. The rosemary plants I have are Tuscan Blue and Arp, both of which smell delicious, and the oregano plant I have is hot and spicy. I love that both rosemary and oregano look aesthetically pleasing as plants while also being functional for kitchen purposes. If the seeds don't work out, I would love to add other varieties to the planter boxes and expand my collection. Also, I recently discovered ornamental oregano like kirigami or Camp Beauty, and I'd love to grow that type in the future as well. It looks so bizarre and cool at the same time. Second category is vegetables. I was never an edible garden type of person, so this is more of my mom's domain. However, because she works a lot more than she did before, the garden duties have passed to me and I'm growing them for her sake. Most of the seed packets we had left over were vegetables because she focuses on growing things we can eat. Her favorite is cucumber, so that's what I started with. The past few years we've gotten a lot more rain in my area than usual, so the cucumber harvest has been amazing. I'm hoping for that again this year since we're trying some new varieties. Next up are bunching onions, otherwise known as scallions, or if you're Korean, pa. In Korean cuisine, pa is used in literally everything from soups to side dishes to topping off the main course. I personally don't particularly like pa unless it's been cooked in oil and mixed in with something like fried rice. But again, this is a staple for my mom when she cooks. So I planted a whole bunch in 2 large box planters. In our garden, we have 3 raised beds. One is always used for cucumbers, one is used for our dragon fruit, and the third was a lawless wasteland. There were weeds, onions, and a bell pepper plant hanging out together in a box nearly depleted of soil. So I went in and salvaged all the plants I could and then repotted them elsewhere. The onions were all squished together in one canvas pot because I wasn't sure how many would make the transplant. And the bell pepper stem got moved in together with this other bell pepper that is working on growing back from its chop last year. After the box was cleared, I dumped a whole bunch of new soil to prep it for growing potatoes. These are the minis that I held back from last year's crop of potatoes. Many of them had sprouted, so I planted them to see how much they can produce despite being so small. I also had a random bag of one huge Dutch baby potato and 2 Murasaki sweet potatoes that had sprouted in my mom's cupboard. And then I thought the last set of potatoes would be these Adirondack Blues we picked up from Lowe's. But surprise, I found some wishlist potatoes at a local garden center for a much better deal than I would have bought them for, so here are those. Also, I had a buddy, but he ran immediately at the sight of my potatoes. I've been wanting to try German Butterball and Huckleberry Gold because Garden Answer here on YouTube mentioned in a video that those are the most delicious potatoes and they really taste like they're buttered already. So from that point on, I knew I had to try them one day. Thankfully, that day came sooner rather than later. Also, my footage unfortunately cut off because I ran out of memory space, but the large canvas pot has German Butterball and Purple Majesty, while the other one I was about to plant into has Huckleberry Gold. Now we're revisiting the onions and the bell peppers. We had the seeds left over, so I thought perfect, I'll make companion pots for the bell pepper and onion I already have. Moving on to buchu, which are Asian chives. Despite not liking pa or scallions, I love buchu, so I'm really hoping these seeds aren't too old to grow. Next up, we have all the leftover peppers. There were all sorts, so I wanted to keep the size of the plant small, but grow each type we had. Thus, I chose these 6-inch containers. The first pepper is a no ID that we already had growing. Second is a sweet pepper. Third is a jalapeno. Fourth is a type of Korean pepper. 5th is another type of Korean pepper that just says green chili. 6th is mystery pepper number 1, 7th is mystery pepper number 2, and I have an 8th pot that isn't shown, but it's growing a hot yellow pepper we've been growing since 2 years ago. I love spicy foods, but my body really can't handle it. That's another big reason I wanted to limit the plant size, especially if it's a hot pepper. If we grew all these peppers and no one can eat them all, it would be pretty sad. Also, while I was planting, I noticed that the seeds of the Korean packets were dyed this intense neon pink. I'm guessing it's so that you don't lose sight of them, but dang, it was shocking. Next vegetable for the year is my personal favorite, the tomatoes. We've had great success with the honeycomb cherry tomato for the past few years, and it tastes amazing. I planted this yellow pear as a cherry tomato companion to it. There were 2 different pots of the honeycomb tomato, so I trimmed those back and merged them together into one canvas pot. After the cherry tomatoes were planted, I moved on to the regular tomatoes, of which we had 5 different varieties to try. The order that I planted these are Burpee's Super Steak Hybrid, Brandywine Pink, 2 pots of the Super Sauce Hybrid because we had 2 packets of seed, Big Rainbow, and Black Krim. The oldest seed packets were dated 2021, so it's been a long time in terms of seed shelf life. But we've had success with even older seeds before, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. The pots that I thoroughly watered so far are all pots that wouldn't get rainwater because I have them in somewhat of a greenhouse situation. The other pots that I planted did get rainwater, and a lot of it, I might add, since I planted them right before we had some storms. So not to worry, everyone in this video was appropriately watered in after planting, one way or another. Now we move on to some last minute dusk planting to wrap up our vegetables. My mom grabbed these 2 eggplant varieties fresh this year, so I planted those in canvas pots. I'm a big fan of eggplant dishes, whether it's simply grilled or cooked into something like ratatouille, so I hope we have a big harvest. I also planted these old pole beans we had from 2021. There were still quite a lot, so I only planted half of our inventory here. If they grow, I'll plant the second half after the first harvest, since we'll still be at the height of growing season by that time. And last but not least, I planted okra. These 2 seed pods are the okra we didn't get around to eating last year, and I added the rest of the seeds from our inventory. Third and final category is flowers. We added some new peony varieties to the collection: Sorbet, Emile de Bettine, Sarah Bernhardt, and Festiva Maxima. I hope to add Lady Alexandra Duff and Celebrity sometime in the future. I wasn't originally into growing flowers, especially cut flower types. I would much rather pick trees or shrubs that have nice foliage, with pretty flowers just being a bonus feature. However, my mom has always loved flowers, and my dad went through a phase last year where he wanted to grow peonies for the scent. So I'm attempting to grow a Henry boxtis inside the house, and I have several varieties outside. When I ordered the Henry last year, which was my dad's pick, I also got 6 double peony lactiflora tubers that I had originally planted into individual pots. All the peonies came to me late May, so I barely saw any foliage grow and definitely didn't get a bloom. This year, I unpotted each single pot and merged 3 tubers together into a wider vessel. To my surprise and delight, all but one of the tubers was still perfectly healthy. The tuber that wasn't looking so great did have sections that were solid and hopeful, which means that it may still grow back. After I repotted those peonies, I planted the new peonies. We ran out of garden soil, so I had to plant the Festiva Maxima on a different day. Unfortunately, those tubers were looking pretty sad and dry. I'm not sure if they look like that from the day we got them because I didn't open the packaging until I was ready to plant. I also wondered if it was maybe because I had them sitting outside for a few days until we got more soil, albeit in the shade. Whatever the case may be, let's hope that with some extra water and TLC, these will grow just as well as the others. My mom also picked out these calla lily bulbs for some pops of color. She told me that a long time ago, in one of our front yard planters, she planted a bunch of calla lily bulbs that were supposed to be multicolored. But to her huge disappointment, only white came up. So here we are trying again. I potted 3 up into each of these containers and we'll see if the colors come in as pictured. I also grabbed a Nikko blue hydrangea and common purple lilac combo that was being sold because I've been wanting to grow lilac for a while now. I'm excited to see how these shrubs do. I've got a bit of progress already to share, even though it's barely been 2 weeks since I've planted these particular seeds or tubers. First are the cilantro seeds and the bokchoy seeds. The latter apparently were not spread out properly, so when they're a little bigger, I'll be moving them into a larger pot size. Next are our cucumbers, and I have already lost a few seedlings to wildlife. Now I have them covered until they grow to a bigger size. Last update is on the potatoes. A lot of them have broken the surface and are growing out their leaves. Very exciting things are already underway, so stay tuned for our harvest later this year. What is everyone else working on in your gardens? Or if you don't have a garden, do you have anything you're growing indoors? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
As we come in for a landing, Carnia and I hope you had as much fun as we did on today's adventure. Until next launch, let's stay connected.